Hello everybody, this is Aiden, and today I'm reviewing the Allen Company Thin Air Fallaway Arrow Rest. So the goal of buying that rest was to replace this, which is my Whisker Biscuit rest that comes standard with the bow. The problem we have with this is that when there's an arrow, when you release, it is always touching. There's lots of friction and chances for stuff to just gently nudge the arrow, which is a problem. So the fallaway rest falls away, meaning only the arrow is touched by a very small thing and then it's gone. And then the arrow can fly just through the air. So if you want to get your hands on one of these, you can go to Amazon. They're about $18. Well, they were when we bought it. And when you get it, you need to assemble it. It'll look something like this when you're done. Hopefully exactly like this. And there are also 2 strips of felt you'll get. One is currently on the rest itself to silence the arrow, and the other one is on the groove on the bow, again, to silence the arrow, because metal arrows, metal bow, kinda noisy. Now, let's get to the installation. So the first of the 5 measurements that you're going to need to take are 2 vertical measurements on the riser shelf. For the first one, you start on the front edge of the riser to the top of the arrow. So that's a number that's not important, we already have it down. Then, you move to the back and do the same thing. For some people, it will be the same, and for others, that number will vary slightly. Don't worry, just note down the difference. The next 2 of the 5 measurements is going to be the horizontal shelf measurements, which is just going to mean you're going to take it like that, put it down on the front edge, note down the number, move it to the back edge, and note down the number. That number shouldn't change at all. That should be the same. The last of the 5 measurements you're going to need is from the back of the riser to the middle of your current rest. We have a nice and handy mold line that we can use at the middle, but if you don't have that, just measure that and then, or eyeball it. You're probably going to change it anyway. Right, so another measurement you're going to need is, if you look side on at the bow, you'll see there's that hole there. Just notice if the arrow is slightly below, slightly covering, or dead even with it, because that'll help when you put the other rest on, if you can see if that's the same. So the first thing you're going to need is a Allen or hex key set. They're the same thing, it's just a different name. So before you start unscrewing like mad, now is a good time to make reference marks if you want to go back to this old rest. You could trace it with pencil or with another form of marker, but we thought that that would rub off, so we decided to take 2 strips of duct tape, put one on this face and the other on that face, and then take something like a permanent marker or a dry erase marker and draw lines on the duct tape. Now be careful because that will rub off, but it's really obvious, so it's a lot harder to rub off. And now we start unscrewing everything. It should be very tight, but not too tight that you need a machine to get it loose. And you can't see, but there are pencil marks from when we pulled the fallaway off to do this review. Now we get our new rest, put it on the pencil marks, drop the bolt in, back the bolt out a bit, and then start screwing it in madly. And it shouldn't be too easy, but at this point I will move over to this. And you're gonna let it light for a minute, check the marks. Yep. Now, if you see there's another hole, and that's so that there's another bolt in there that's very small, that pushes just into your riser, and that's just so that if you nudge it, it won't move as much as it would with only one bolt acting as a perfect pivot point. We'll tighten that one once we're done fine-tuning because it's gonna be off a bit. So, once you've put it on, the first thing you want to check is that the rest isn't touching your shelf. Because if it's resting on the shelf and it's sitting like this, it might hurt it definitely will hurt this when it slams down when you're done shooting. And you don't really want this to break when you're on the line. That would end badly. So before you get the arrow into play, just tilt this up and measure the distance from there to the back end of the riser, just to make sure that the distance is the same. And if that distance isn't the same, then change the rest until it is. The next step of this is to knock an arrow, fold that up, and I'm just going to hold it because I don't actually need to see the measurements, but you may have to figure out a way to get that to stay up. So at this point you want to turn the bow right side up, because as you can see, the arrow can wiggle slightly, so you want to hold it vertically and then do the same measurements that you did before, and just see if they're the same, and if they're not, move the rest until they are. Now that you have your rest in place, you're going to take this bit of line, and you're going to run it down from the top, and make a knot so that it doesn't slip through. You want the majority of the cord to be towards the bottom. The bottom meaning, because you're going to tie it 2 inches below, so you want the majority of the cord over here. And then you will tie this end to the cable that moves down when you pull back. For me, that's this cable. So now that you've tied the knot, you're going to take your cross and where the 2 strings cross and go down roughly 2 inches. It shouldn't be less than 2 inches, but it can be a bit more than 2 inches, so about there. Then you're going to make a cow hitch, I believe it's called. Google a tutorial if you want to see one. It's similar to the knots. It's exactly the same as the knots on your D-loop. So if you really want to, you can follow those as a guide. And pull it tight. There you go. And then slide it down to 2 inches. Which is about there. To get that cow hitch to stay there, we're going to just secure it in place with some serving thread. You could use dental floss, preferably the thicker, waxier kind. We used it and my bow smelled minty and it worked well, so, you know, there's that. We're just going to do a method where you tie knots. So, we're going to tie knots over it. So we're going to, basically, when you go to tie your shoes, we're going to do everything but the bunny ears bit. For the simpler among us, that's the easiest way to describe it. And you're going to do one on this side, one on this side, one on this side, one on this side, and so forth. Keeping it tight. Right, so as you can see, all we've done is we've melted that half hitch, and we've finished this serving thread, I don't know really what to call it, this stopper, because we didn't make one on this side because this will never want to move down, it will always want to move up. So we just needed something there to make sure it didn't render this entire assembly useless. So that took us about 10 minutes, which was more time than I wanted. Be patient, it takes a little bit of working out, but be patient and we'll get there, so. And it's worth it, I should know. Congrats to all of you that managed to get that served shut. The next step is to take this, pull it all the way down, so that this is taut, and then this is the bit where you need another person. You're going to pull, the person that will shoot this is going to pull the bow back. Another person is going to come, tilt the rest up, and then make a mark on the string where the knot needs to be, to again make this whole thing work. So when you draw back, you'll see that our whole cable assembly has moved down. Okay, Dad's making a mark. So, with that mark, we'll tie a knot there, and then we're done, hopefully. And then shooting tests to make sure, it works. So, before we start shooting, I'm just going to demonstrate what you should see. What you should see is that I'm going to pull back, and about an inch before I get to full draw, this should snap upright. It shouldn't happen immediately as soon as I start pulling, and it should never not happen. It should happen just before I hit full draw. So I'll draw slowly and let down slowly to demonstrate this. And as you can see there, and if yours doesn't do this, shorten the rope, just a little bit. Right, and now we start shooting. Right, we're outside again, and this is the 5-yard test of the follow arrow. Shooting at the center of the paper, because I have a feeling I'm going to miss. Okay, that actually went where I aimed it. I purposely aimed low. Right, so for the second shot, I'll actually aim in the center of the target, because I now know that it's going to go there. Perfect! This is the test at 10 yards, and again I'm aiming at the very center. That's pretty good. So we skipped 15 yards and we're going straight to 20. This time I'm aiming 1 arrow in each circle of the 3 spot. Right, that went 6 inches low. Right, so because I was shooting low, we adjusted it high, we've changed the rope length to be shorter, and I'm going to shoot in the very center of the paper again. Right, so we'll just do one more end to make sure that there are no niggles. I'll go right to left, right, top, left. A little shaky. Right, now for the top target. Flinching, but, Again, I'm not an Olympian, so... And now for the left target. So that's a 9, 9, 8. And I think we've just proven that the Whisker Biscuit is better, but, I'm special, so you don't really know. So, that's how I was shooting today. I am kind of tired, so don't take this as a representation of what the rest is like. And if you're happy with how you're shooting at this point, tighten the grub screw, which is that small screw we mentioned earlier on. So you just take that one of those two, that one, and tighten it. And you're done. So I've been shooting this for a time, but longer than a month, and I'm consistently getting 260s, so I would definitely say, if your Whisker Biscuit isn't doing it for you, get the Allen Company, follow ARRS. If you like this video, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, bye!